All right. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of our weekly Wednesday Lunch and Learn. Every Wednesday, I have the opportunity to get to interview some of the top real estate professionals across the entire country. And today, I'm delighted to have Chris join me. Chris, welcome to the show. Please tell us a little bit about the area that you cover, but also how long you've been in the business.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Spencer, for having me. I have been a real estate agent since like 1937.
Wow. You're aging very well.
A very long time. Yeah, no, I've probably been in the business pushing 30 years. And I just love it. I actually love selling real estate. I do this about 60% of my time in the city and county of San Francisco. So I pretty much don't go outside San Francisco.
Got it. And so tell us, what did you actually do before real estate and how did you get into real estate?
Well, yeah, good question. The way I got into real estate was I hated my previous life.
Okay.
So I was a CPA. I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers. And, Spencer, I tell you, I was like, for 11 years, sometimes I'm a little bit slow on the uptick. It took me 11 years to figure out that I just really hated that job. I was really good at it. I made a lot of money doing it. But I just felt every day I felt like I was going home, like I was crying on the inside. Wow. And so I finally met a realtor who sold me my first home in San Francisco. And he became a really good friend of mine. And I was telling him about it. And I says, real estate is really my passion. I really want to go into real estate, do something with real estate. So I was considering like being an appraiser, mortgage broker, the whole 9 yards. And he talked me into becoming a real estate agent and working with him. And so I worked with him as my mentor probably for the first 5 years. And I just fell in love with it, love it.
Wow. So walk us through kind of the early stages. Was it, as you got the license and you started working, was it easier or harder than you thought it would be?
Well, it's interesting. I think it was exactly what I thought it would be because I had a really good mentor. I knew with my eyes wide open that it wasn't going to be just some kind of, sit at the water cooler and eat donuts and wait for listings to come to me, that I was going to have to hustle and work my tail off to find listings for sale. I knew early on that I wanted to be a listing agent, and I pretty much tried to work with, majority of my stuff is working with listings. But I knew early on that I was really going to have to hustle because my mentor told me that. But I knew that I had the flexibility of having that realtor schedule, which I just really loved doing. But I hustled, man. I started cold calling. That was how, back in the day when I started, man, I was every single morning cold calling. And that's how I got my first listing within like 45 days of starting.
Oh, wow, that is very fast.
Yeah,
that's very fast. Yeah. Excellent. And so walk us through like production levels, right? When you first started, maybe how many transactions you did, what the production levels are, and then give people kind of a sneak peek of what it is either this year or at least last year.
So what I did was, it's interesting because that first year or two, I think maybe the first two couple of years, I only did like 10, 15 transactions. But then I got to a point where I was always pretty much doing the same level. And I'm still to this day doing sort of like the same level, which is I'm selling about 40 to 50 homes a year. But that is, the only thing that's changed throughout the years, I will say, is at that 40 to 50 home level is I made a conscious effort to increase my average sales price. So my average sales price is pretty high. I would say, the last time I checked, my average sales price is about $2 million. And I've been doing that consistently, for the last 10 years. But prices obviously in San Francisco have been going up. And as a matter of fact, I just literally 10 minutes before I jumped on this call, just sold a $5 million home. So I'm super excited about that.
Congrats. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. So let the audience know, that's a lot of people's goals, right? Like you can do the same quote unquote amount of work per se, but your average price point is higher. So technically you earn a lot more, right? So how did you actually grow that? Was it a combination like the people you started with, right, that you helped, they just ended up making more money and then they did a trade up? Or is it something very strategic that was also different to gain this different, wealthier clientele?
Right. Well, I think that I realized early on that you can do just as much business and work the same amount of hours with higher end homes than with lower end homes.
Sure.
So what I did do is very early on is I picked the areas of San Francisco, which are the more expensive areas, which are primarily on the north side of town. So I started off by trying to concentrate in those areas around the city where the homes were a little bit more expensive. But so for a lot of my marketing was all geared towards that. But the biggest thing really is, finding sellers and finding buyers as well too that want to be in those areas. And so I really tried to concentrate myself in those areas, which I think is really important. I think a lot of real estate agents just sort of go into the business and they don't really try to narrow down a niche. Right. And you can narrow down a niche, whether you're working with buyers or sellers or types of properties or geographical areas. And that's one of the things, I also have a coaching program as well that I talk to my coaching clients as well too, is to try to narrow your niche down as much as possible, which is what I essentially did. Because that way, when you narrow your niche down, you can spend all your marketing efforts, your marketing money in that particular area and hopefully get results a lot faster. It's interesting because I just talked to a woman, Spencer, who's considering joining my program. And she works like over 500-mile radius or something. It's crazy what she's covering.
She has a private plane then?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, no. You got to concentrate on one area and really sort of narrow this puppy down.
Interesting. So yeah, walk us through as well. Like, when did you decide because I know you still perform as a top producer, but at the same time, when did you think about or implement this coaching program, and why do that versus maybe joining like a Tom Ferry or these other that are huge, right? So what was the mentality of that?
Well, Spencer, I think that really it started because I wrote a book. I wrote a book called Massive Abundance: How to Create Passion, Purpose, and Prosperity in Your Life. And I just had this thing always in my life that I always felt that it's really important with everything I did as a CPA, as real estate, with coaching clients, is to really get as strong as you can, become as strong as you can in all your life areas so that you can turn around and give it all back. And that's always been sort of like my credo through life, is figuring out ways to help other people and give it all back, because I've got this common thread through all the things that I've done, and that is the CPA and the real estate and the coaching, is that it's helping other people get what they want. And one of the things that just I organically grew into it, not only did I write a book about it, but I also found that I get the greatest amount of joy in my life when I'm really helping people achieve their potential and achieve greatness. Doing these calls, being on a coaching call, helping people. When I say something or suggest something, and the real estate agent on the other line, on the other end says, "Oh, you know what? I can do that," and then seeing them make changes that dramatically increase their business. Spencer, I can live off that feeling for days because it just brings me so much joy. And I just organically love it.
That's wonderful. And so can you share like how many clients you have, and are you personally helping them, or is it like the other coaches where it's kind of a structure where you have coaches upon coaches? How does that model even work? And then is there a capacity constraint as well of how many people you can actually coach?
Yeah, that's a really good question. No one's ever asked me that before. First of all, I just want to say that coaching is so important. I started off with a coach. So I started off paying a lot of money back in 1992. I think I was paying like $1,000 a month, which was a lot of money back then. Right. And I just think it's really important to have somebody better than you to help you. So to answer your question, I really have right now, because I'm trying to keep this sort of a tight group, because it's a combination of one-on-one coaching. So I'm doing private coaching myself. I don't have a team. I'm doing private coaching one-on-one with people, but it's also, I combine it as a mastermind group. So every 2 weeks we get on a Zoom call and we just cut up. We just have fun. We tell jokes. We talk about different things in our marketplace. I do a lot of interviews. I interview top listing agents like Gary Gold in Beverly Hills, who I think still has the most expensive listing on the market in the country. And we just learn things from each other. And so it's a combination of a coaching mastermind thing. So for that, I want to keep it a really tight group. The other thing too is there's a lot of people that join coaching programs, but they don't really want to do the work. Right. And so I really want people that are really going to be super motivated to do the work. So I would say probably I do have a capacity. I think my goal probably in the next couple of years would be to hit 50 coaching clients. And that would just be perfect for me. And I can do that from anywhere in the world, really. One of the things we just did last year, my partner and I bought a place in Panama, nice. right overlooking the Pacific Ocean on the 32nd floor. And I've been pre-COVID, I was there a lot, and I was actually doing it because as long as I have a computer, I can do this from anywhere. So I'm really looking forward to doing that more too.
What have been some of the growing pains of starting the coaching business? And similar to how you got started with real estate, did you have a mentor of growing the coaching business too, or was that like you're figuring it out, like what you want to do?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I have a mentor in everything. It's like we all have people that are helping us spiritually. We've got a priest or a rabbi. We've got a physical trainer. We've got a certified financial planner, and like all those, I hired a business coach. I ran into a guy who I was searching because I knew that I needed somebody to help me really grow this business and what was important and not important. And I got a guy named Ryan Lee on the East Coast. He's out of Connecticut. As a matter of fact, I'm having a call with him this week, who has started 3 multi-million-dollar internet startup companies. And so he just really, I've been riding his coattails because this guy is super smart and he really knows what he's talking about when it comes to doing online stuff, and silly things like knowing, like for instance, one of the things that I was lamenting to him about was the fact that, okay, right now I currently have about 20 or 25 coaching clients, and it's really interesting because probably 20% of those people I'm on the phone with and talking to all the time, really helping them in their day-to-day and all that kind of stuff. 80% of the people, I can't get to talk to me. I mean, they won't call me. They're paying me money. I have a monthly fee, and they're paying me money every single month. And I finally called one guy, Tyler, in Santa Barbara. I says, Tyler, how come you won't talk to me? He says, you know what? He says, I want you there on retainer in case I have a problem. But other than that, we just don't really talk. So, and like Ryan's the one that told me this. He says, it's every single online coaching, online business, it's going to be 80% of the people are going to pay you and not do anything. And 20% of the people are going to be the most active. And that's fine because everybody's doing their own thing. And I totally respect that.
Have you seen the ones that are engaging with you at the 20%? Are they actually doing better than the others? Or is it just their communication preference? Like, they're actually pretty self-sufficient, but they want to bring you in when it comes to, different things that are coming up.
Yeah, no, I would say they're all doing better. The old line, the only competition we have is with ourselves. So they're all doing better with themselves where they were. Okay, so they're improving from where they started. But it's hard to sort of categorize, is this guy doing better than this guy? It's really sort of hard to make that differentiation.
Got it. Cool. Okay. And so walk us through a little bit of, since you, especially for your case, you focus mainly in San Francisco.
Yes.
San Francisco gets a lot of, I ran a lot of videos, a lot of headline articles for sure, given how expensive it was, especially from the rental perspective and how many condos there are on the market today.
Right.
Walk us through like what your thoughts are of the beginning of the year, pre-shelter, what life looks like now, and maybe how is it looking over the next couple of months?
Sure, that is a really good question. So I would say that this is the best year probably in all the years I've been in real estate. This is the best year I've ever had. It's just really crazy. I thought when COVID hit and the shelter in place that I thought that's it, we're toast and we're not going to sell anything. And when it opened up for us here in San Francisco, it was I want to say it was like, was it around May or something? When it opened up, it was like the floodgate just opened up. We're really strong in our marketplace here in San Francisco, spring and fall. We're not a school year driven market here in the city. So, actually July and August are pretty dead months for us. So spring and fall is when it's really busy. We didn't have a spring market because we were on lockdown. So, it's just crazy. I think that what's happened, Spencer, is that people here in San Francisco anyways, that people have really sort of redefined their whole idea of what home is. We have a lot of clients that are saying, I need more space. I got to start working from home. I have to start homeschooling my kids. So the activity has really this year, since the shelter in place has been lifted, has just increased dramatically. Probably we did 6 months of activity probably in June, July, and August of this year. Wow. And it's still continuing, and it's still very strong. Now the kicker is here in the San Francisco marketplace, I can't say, unequivocally that this whole market, all of San Francisco is doing really well. Because there are it's very segmented. So it's really segmented, especially condos. So if you have condos that are in high-rise buildings, like especially in downtown San Francisco that don't have any outdoor spaces, there aren't a lot of people that really want to live in a lot of large, densely packed buildings right now because of COVID. So if you look at certain areas like South Beach, South of Market, which are areas that are more high density in downtown San Francisco, even downtown itself, it's a very slow market. There's probably 30% more condos on the market right now than what's normal, and you can't sell them. We have 2 listings down there. I can't pay buyers to come and see these things. I cannot. Now, what everybody wants to do in San Francisco is they want to get out of the downtown area and they want to go out to the outlying areas. So some of the neighborhoods that we have where there's more single-family homes in the city, but there are more single-family homes and have yards or big terraces or patios, those are the places that are selling like hotcakes. Still multiple offers. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's what I found out as well. Like San Francisco is huge by itself, but it depends on the type of property it is. Like when I ran the numbers, single family seems just like any other city, very busy, moving along. But condos, definitely not the same, especially depending on where you're at. So, but the interesting part about condos, and you tell me otherwise, like have prices actually dropped much? Like it seems like it's dropped a little bit, but it doesn't seem like people really need to sell it. So they're just kind of, there's just a lot on the market, but it's just hanging around there, right? Like from the conversation with your sellers, usually if it's sitting on the market for some time, you think of price reductions, right? But what's the mentality of these people, even though it's just kind of the days on market keeps adding up?
Yeah, I think that for starters, with a lot of these properties, Spencer, you have people that have a lot of equity in the property,
right?
And they really are redefining their value of their idea of what home is. So they really want to make a change, but they can afford, because the local economy here in San Francisco is still very strong. They can still afford to keep these properties on the market, and that's, I think, what's happening. You have less demand, but you have people that are pretty well financed and have pretty good equity in their properties, so they're able to stay on the market a little bit longer. So it's not like back in the financial crisis back in, what was it, 07 or 08, where we had all these people that had no equity in their property and they were selling quick. We needed to get it out, and then you had all these huge REOs. What's going to be really interesting? It's going to be really interesting to see in other parts of the country if there's going to be a huge uptick in REOs, because I don't know. I get the sense that lenders have been pretty well capitalized and well funding loans. So I don't think that people are really underwater, but I may be wrong in other parts of the country, but that's not the case here in the city.
Now, when you have the conversation with the sellers, are they, given they have such a big equity, but I'm sure the sense of like their home is still on the market for you as a listing agent, you're like, oh my God, like there's like nobody coming in per se, right? Like, is there the conversation, or have you seen anything like I mean, what are other ways to do it other than just waiting and seeing if it just gets better, right?
I haven't figured out any other way to say this than other than the fact that in this particular market, and I tell sellers this, that it's all about two things. It's the price and time.
Right.
And so you just need the time and you need the right price on it. And what I do is also tell them right up front is tell them that we will have price reductions if this thing sits on the market because you want to keep the interest and you don't want the listing to get stale. So what I do is I broach that price reduction conversation right up front before it even hits the market. So especially, if they want to put a place on the market at 2 million and I think it's only on the market, I think it's only worth 1.6 million, then, I'll do it if they really want me to, like at 1.995. But in 3 to 4 weeks, if we get absolutely no action or no activity, then I will tell them that we're going to have a price reduction. And also the same applies to with the listing period. What I'm doing now, which I never really did before in the last 20 years, is if I think that it's going to take a lot longer to sell because maybe it is a condo and a high rise down in South of Market, then I'll take a longer listing. I've been taking 6-month listings on places. So that's the other way to do it. And I tell them again, but I'm always constantly having a price reduction conversation with them all the time.
Yeah. And you don't have to talk about a specific one, but in general, in that vicinity, because I know the average days on market is certainly fairly high, right?
Yes.
But when an offer does come in, are you seeing a lot of lowball offers? Are you like, how many people actually go through, if you kind of track like from the beginning till you actually get it, an offer accepted, like how many people have actually seen it from your experience?
Well, again, it depends on the type of property it is. Okay, so again, if it's a condo downtown, I mean, not a lot of people have seen it, but we just had a single family home, gorgeous, but it ticked all the boxes because single family home, remodeled, great block, great location, had a yard, had a parking garage. And pre-COVID and even now, we've had as many as, when we could do open houses and now we're doing private appointments, we've had like 50, 60, 70 people, parties, not people, parties through. I mean, and it's just, and trying to schedule this in San Francisco, which is a little bit weird for your viewers in other parts of the country, we don't necessarily have a lot of lock boxes. That's changing now because of COVID, but in the past, we rarely had a lock box. So we had to always do our own showings ourselves.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Where do you see, are these people, the people that tend to be buying the single family in San Francisco today, do you kind of track or see where they're coming from? Are they from condos doing it, or are they like, what's the source? Yeah,
move up buyers primarily. Right now, for people that know in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, we have a strong high technology group, and so there's a lot of high tech companies here, and it's primarily that. I mean, I just sold this property just recently, and the typical profile that I see time and time again: young married couple, 2 kids, both of them work. One's at Google, one's at Salesforce. And that's a typical profile of these buyers that we're seeing.
Got it. Very good. Well, we'll start getting wrapped up soon, but tell the audience, especially there are agents that tune into this channel of learning about the different markets and things like that. So share whatever you'd like about the coaching program that you have, right? Like, is it anyone that can join? Is there a vetting out process? Like some general high level of how things are structured? I think people then, if they're interested, then they can reach out and have a call with you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you a couple things. One is just be nice and be motivated to want to change. That's the key. Be motivated to change. And that's one of the things that I'm really looking for people in the coaching program. But regardless, anybody viewing this, if you want to hit me up or ask me any questions about coaching or anything else, you can always hit me up at my website, which is theagentunleashed.com. Maybe you can put it in the show notes. And also, too, if anybody hits me up on the website, I mentioned my book, Massive Abundance, that I wrote, and if you want to, you can certainly hit me up and ask for that book, and I will send it to you for free. Again, that's theagentunleashed.com.
Wonderful. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time. It's great to hear about what's actually happening in the local San Francisco market. It's also incredible that you're also have that the coaching program, because especially like in your case, you're a top producer and you're a coach. So you're kind of the hybrid player coach, which is very critical. You know, a lot of coaches, you know, for whatever reason, they're just only coaching and they may kind of lose.
And that's exactly what a lot of the people that work with me, they like the fact that I'm in the trenches.
Right.
So I'm doing what, as opposed to just sitting in an ivory tower, I'm actually experiencing the same thing they're experiencing right now. So it's been really helpful.
Yeah. And what I actually found interesting from the coach's side, like you mentioned about the inspiration, I think not just the inspiration of helping others see their successes, but what's interesting as well is there's a lot of things that coaches learn from, you know, the people that they coach too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it is so motivating and invigorating to be associated with these people because, yeah, you know, we're all it's a very organic, symbiotic relationship.
Right, exactly. So it's very cool. It's very cool to see that addition to the business. Well, thank you everyone else for tuning in, and of course, I will have Chris's details in the show notes. If you have any questions about the local San Francisco market or about his coaching programs, you can find the details there below and just reach out direct. I'm sure we'll be happy to correspond. And I'll see you at the next one. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thanks for making it to the very end of my YouTube video. If you like the content, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that little bell as well, since it'll give you notifications of when my next episode is. If you know of anyone that is considering to buy or sell a home here in the Bay Area, I'm never too busy to help more people. Always welcome to have a conversation, regardless if you're ready to go right now or if you wanted to buy 5 years later. Click on that calendar link and then you'll be able to book an appointment with me and love to have a conversation about your situation. In the meantime, I also do have a monthly newsletter, so feel free to hit that link below and then you'll be able to get my updates, personal updates that I write once a month in terms of what is going on with the market and some of my latest activities. Hope to see you at the next one. Thank you.